All right, so forgive me, just got back from vacation. Hell of a vacation. Super grateful for it. Great time. I'm a little. All right, so forgive me. I'm a little late on this, but not too late. Still got another 3 days before the fight. I was on vacation. Hell of a vacation. One of my favorite vacations of all time. So super grateful for that. But I wanted to get in my Barrios versus Garcia little prediction and breakdown. Um, these guys I know a bit more on, as I've seen both of them fight more than I saw Shakur and Tio. I've seen a lot of conflicting things on this fight. I shouldn't say I've seen a lot of conflicting things, but every time I think about it, I kind of feel a lot of conflicting things because I feel like when it comes to skill, I feel like Ryan Garcia is leagues ahead of Barrios, and I know there's the term skills pay the bills, but fundamentals are also very important. And I'm not saying Ryan Garcia, has poor fundamentals or that Mario Barrios is a Floyd Mayweather or anything like that, but I just feel like Barrios is the more fundamentally solid, consistent fighter in the sense that you kind of know what you're going to get from Barrios. Like, I feel like I know what I'm going to see from Barrios on Saturday night. Ryan Garcia is quite the opposite. You can get the Ryan Garcia that went in there against Devin Haney. You can get the Ryan Garcia that went in there against Rolly Romero. So I know a lot of people are going to jump to this steroid shit right away. And I'm going to clear the air on that one right now before we even get into my prediction or breakdown. I've made a video on this before. I know for certain, no, I know for certain that close to 90% of the people that are on a high level in boxing, world champions, most of the people you're seeing on TV, stuff like that, these guys are on PEDs. It is what it is. Again, to me, if fighter A is on PEDs and fighter B is on PEDs, I'm not really sure what it matters. It's an even playing field. Obviously, it matters for their health. Guys could get hurt a lot more if, they're on PEDs. So I'm not saying it doesn't matter at all. I'm talking about as far as the fairness of who wins the fight. Most of the time in these pay-per-view fights and shit like that, these guys that you're seeing are on PEDs. Now, I'm not saying I know for a fact that Mario Barrios is on PEDs, but it wouldn't surprise me in the least bit if both of these guys are on PEDs. Now, as far as Garcia versus Rolly, that could be a scenario where because Garcia got caught, right? You have to understand, if the high majority of the people that you're watching on TV are on PEDs, and there's all different ways around it, whether it's certain type of masking agents, whether it's who they know and timing of tests, or all sorts of different things. I'm not going to get into too many details with that shit. And again, my purpose for saying all this shit is not to expose anybody. I would never tell you guys how I know this information. I would never say any names to you guys. You could go type it in on YouTube right now yourself. There's plenty of pro fighters that will tell you the same thing that I'm telling you. So it's not like I'm making this shit up or pulling it out of thin air. I have plenty of people I know that are professional boxers, professional boxing trainers, analysts, all types of shit like that. So what I'm saying is factual, whether you choose to believe it or not. Again, I can't pinpoint each and every person. I don't know what each specific guy is doing. We do know that Ryan's been caught using PEDs, and I want to be clear with what I'm saying. I'm saying PEDs, not steroids, because PEDs are not always steroids. There's some guys take certain PEDs to lose a rapid amount of weight in a quick amount of time without dropping a lot of muscle, and then be able to put a lot of weight back on, shit like that. So it's not as simple as a guy is taking steroids and knocking somebody the fuck out. It's not always like that. Performance enhancing drugs come in all shapes, colors, and sizes. So I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that everybody you're seeing on the TV is using steroids. That's not what I'm saying. Ryan's been caught using PEDs. Now, again, whether what went on with Haney was accurate, I know Ryan's denied shit and stuff like that. I don't not believe Ryan because I think Ryan's a liar or he's crazy or whatever. I just don't believe him because, like I said, I know that the majority of these fighters are on PEDs. So when you get caught using PEDs, there's no way in hell that I'm like, oh, he's not on it. I'm sure you are, and I'm sure Devin Haney was probably on it too when you fought him. So to me, it doesn't really matter. But again, I don't want to get into too much specifics on other specific people or try to get anybody in trouble or throw anybody under the bus. The fact of the matter is most of these guys are on PEDs, so the playing field is even. That being said, is it possible that Ryan was not on PEDs for the Rolly fight? Definitely possible, right? At the end of the day, you're responsible for what you put in your body. Sure, people could be... Sorry, I got a hair in my face. Sure, people could be giving you things and oh, I didn't know, or they told me it was this or whatever. And I'm not saying that's like a poor excuse. I'm just saying when you compete at that level in a sport, you got to be responsible for what goes into your body. So at the end of the day, it's very possible that because Ryan got caught and because Ryan got suspended, that he opted to, you know what, I'm not going to fuck around this time and I could win without this shit, and I'm going to actually go in there clean this time, and I'm going to win anyway. And, he says he was unmotivated, and he looked disinterested in the fight. And again, that could be because of a lack of PEDs, right? Now, that's not to say that people can't be motivated or can't be interested without PEDs, but when you're used to feeling a certain way from taking something, and then you go through a training camp without it, and you go into a fight without it, especially going against a guy who's using it, odds are you're probably not going to be able to pull off that victory. And even if you do, you're probably not going to look the same. So do I think it's possible that Ryan was clean in the Rolly fight? I do. Do I think it's possible that Ryan was on PEDs in both fights and is just a very inconsistent, sporadic dude? I do. That being said, we saw how Ryan acted in the build-up to the Devin Haney fight. We saw what he did. We saw him get popped, and now we see the way Ryan's acting in this Mario Barrios fight and stuff like that. So there's a lot of coincidences. I'm very confident that Ryan's back on PEDs for this fight. I'm also very confident that Mario Barrios is probably on it. But again, I don't want to bicker with anybody about specific people. I don't know which specific people are taking what. I just know that the very high majority of these guys are on PEDs. Again, take it or leave it. Now, getting into this specific fight, PEDs or no PEDs, we really don't know what Ryan Garcia we're going to get because, Ryan Garcia is a pretty loose cannon. He's pretty sporadic. He's pretty inconsistent and stuff like that. So, that right there, I tend to lean towards Barrios just based on that alone because I know Barrios is going to show up to fight. I know Barrios is going to give 100% in that ring. And I'm talking about the mental aspect, the heart. Like, I know Barrios is not going to, just quit or put in some half-assed effort where he's really not trying to win the fight and he's just trying to not get knocked out and things like that. I don't see that happening for Mario Barrios. And given the fact that Ryan Garcia may show up half-assed like that or, whatever the case is, that kind of leans me towards Barrios a little bit. I believe Barrios has the height and the reach and stuff like that. And quite honestly, just my gut is just telling me that Barrios wins this fight. He had the draw against Pacquiao. I know Pacquiao's like 47 years old and shit like that, but I'm not sure that Ryan Garcia is better than a 47-year-old Pacquiao, to be quite honest with you. Different fighters, different things that they bring to the table, different sizes. Pacquiao, a smaller guy, an older guy. A lot of differences for sure, so I'm not trying to compare apples to oranges, but I don't know, man. Something about Garcia just... The dude is very talented, very athletic, very skilled, very fast, can punch, things like that, but I don't know, just there's a little thing here, a little thing here, a little thing here. The inconsistency from Ryan, the consistency from Barrios, the heart of Barrios, the size of Barrios. Barrios also has Ryan Garcia's former trainer. The sporadicness of Garcia, the fact that he shows up one fight, he doesn't show up another fight, the fact that it looks spectacular against this guy and look, I don't want to say terrible, but subpar, I guess maybe you could say, against another guy. I don't know, man. I really think that Barrios is going to win this fight. I think Barrios will win by decision. I think that this fight has the potential to be very exciting. If the Ryan Garcia that fought Devin Haney comes out, I think this could be a very exciting fight. And to be clear, I'm picking Barrios to win by decision, but do I think Ryan Garcia is capable of winning this fight? I do. I think Devin Haney's probably better than Mario Barrios, and he beat the fuck out of Devin Haney. So do I think it's possible that Garcia wins this fight? I do. But, again, I got to make a pick, and my pick is going to be Barrios by decision. I know not too much of a breakdown here. Again, just to touch on how this fight goes, in my opinion, I think it's really dependent on Garcia. I think if the Garcia that fought Haney comes out, I think we could have a great fight. I think he's being a bit ridiculous with a lot of the things he's saying, the cuts and, your trainer should stop it. And I know he doesn't like to stop it. I know a lot of the shit that he does is to sell fights and antics and just him being crazy and sporadic. But I do think there's a very good possibility of this being a highly entertaining and relatively bloody guts type of fight. I do think that's very possible, but I think that's very dependent on Ryan Garcia. I think if Ryan Garcia comes out that way and drags Barrios into a fight like that, I think Barrios is going to answer the bell, and I think we're going to get a really great fight. If the Ryan Garcia that fought Rolly shows up, I think it will be, again, I don't want to say a boring fight because fights really don't bore me, especially when you have a high level of skill like Shakur and Tio and things like that. I know Shakur wasn't totally stepping on the gas pedal. It wasn't, a fucking slugfest, and he was being safe and being careful, but he stood in the pocket. He was right in front of Tio. He was, did everything he was supposed to do. That fight was highly, highly entertaining to me. I love when there's a high skill level like that, and you got a guy standing in the pocket right in front of you, and the other guy just basically can't fucking touch him. And not only can he not touch him, but he's getting punished every time he tries. I love that shit. So, listen, if you're looking for a brawl, I think it's possible that you get one depending on which Garcia comes out. If you like tactical fights, I think it's also possible that we get... I don't think the skill level is going to be as high as... Shakur versus Tio. I think Shakur is an absolute fucking master, and in no way, shape, or form do I think Barrios is on that level, but I think Barrios is tough enough, big enough, and fundamentally sound enough that if the right Ryan Garcia doesn't come out, we could see, a little bit more of a little bit slower pace fight in the first half, I will say. And then, again, I think a lot of it is dependent on Garcia. If he bites down and is like, I'm losing and starts fighting back, I think the fight could get really exciting and really interesting. But, again, at the end of the day, man, I just see Barrios winning this fight by decision. So that's my take. Peace.